The tension between former President Donald Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, long rumored to be simmering behind the scenes, erupted into a fiery confrontation backstage at a Republican fundraiser in Orlando. Witnesses described the scene as chaotic, with staffers scrambling to keep the confrontation away from the press. Trump, known for his larger-than-life personality, reportedly stormed into DeSantis' green room minutes before the governor was set to deliver a speech. "Ron, you're trying to steal my legacy," Trump shouted, his voice echoing through the hallway. "Everything you're doing, you learned from me. And now you think you can take the Republican Party from me." DeSantis, initially caught off guard, quickly fired back. "With all due respect, Mr. President, the party isn't yours. It's about the voters, and they're ready for someone who delivers results. Not just words," DeSantis said, his tone sharp. Staffers close to the scene described the exchange as explosive. "It was like watching a volcano erupt," said one insider. Trump was pointing his finger, and DeSantis wasn't backing down. It was a clash of egos at its peak. Trump, visibly angered, accused DeSantis of disloyalty. "I made you, Ron. Without my endorsement, you'd still be some nobody congressman. And now you're acting like you don't owe me anything," he bellowed, pacing back and forth. DeSantis, standing firm, replied, "You endorsed me because you knew I could win. And I've proven myself by leading Florida without your interference. Maybe it's time the Republican Party had a leader who focuses on the future, not the past." The confrontation escalated as Trump brought up polling numbers. "You think you can beat me? Look at the numbers, Ron. I'm still the king of this party, and you know it," Trump said, waving a printed poll in the air. DeSantis smirked and retorted, "We'll see who the voters want when the time comes. I'm not here to bow to anyone. I'm here to lead." As voices rose, security guards and aides intervened, urging the two Republican heavyweights to calm down. "Gentlemen, the press is right outside. Let's not give them a headline they don't deserve," one aide pleaded, physically placing himself between the two men. The incident didn't end there. Minutes later, Trump took the stage and delivered a speech peppered with thinly veiled jabs at DeSantis. "Some people think they can ride my coattails and then claim they're the future," Trump said, eliciting cheers and laughter from the audience. "Let me remind everyone, there's only one MAGA, and it starts with me." DeSantis, speaking immediately after Trump, responded in kind without mentioning the former president by name. "Leadership isn't about slogans or rallies. It's about results. Florida has shown what real conservative governance looks like," DeSantis said, earning a standing ovation. The confrontation quickly leaked to the media, with political commentators speculating about the implications for the Republican Party. "This was bound to happen," said one analyst. "The GOP is at a crossroads, and Trump and DeSantis represent two very different paths forward." Social media erupted with hashtags like #Trump vs. DeSantis and #GOP Civil War trending within hours. Supporters of Trump praised his dominance and refusal to let DeSantis overshadow him, while DeSantis fans applauded his courage to stand up to the former president. The incident also sparked debates about the future of the Republican Party. Trump's influence is undeniable, but DeSantis is clearly positioning himself as the next generation of conservative leadership, said a political strategist. "This clash was inevitable, and it won't be the last." As both men returned to their respective camps, the party's donor base was reportedly split. Some major contributors remained loyal to Trump, while others began quietly shifting their support to DeSantis, viewing him as a more electable figure in 2024. The backstage confrontation became the talk of cable news and late-night talk shows. One host joked, "Looks like Trump and DeSantis are auditioning for the next season of Real GOP Housewives." The audience laughed, but the seriousness of the split within the Republican Party was not lost on anyone. Trump later addressed the incident on Truth Social, writing, "Ron DeSanctimonious thinks he can challenge me? Good luck. The MAGA movement is stronger than ever, and I'm still its leader." DeSantis, sticking to a more traditional approach, avoided direct commentary but emphasized his record in Florida during a press conference the following day. The clash raised questions about the upcoming Republican primaries. Would Trump and DeSantis face off in a brutal campaign, or would party leaders step in to broker peace? For now, the Republican Party remains in a state of high drama, with its two most prominent figures seemingly on a collision course. What's certain is that the confrontation has energized both men's supporters and further polarized the GOP. Trump's fiery personality and DeSantis' calculated defiance have set the stage for what could be one of the most contentious primary battles in modern political history. Whether this rivalry will strengthen or weaken the party remains to be seen, but one thing is clear. The Republican road to 2024 just got a lot more interesting. The confrontation between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis sent shockwaves throughout the Republican Party. News of the backstage clash spread like wildfire, dominating headlines and sparking debates on talk shows, podcasts, and social media. It quickly became clear that this wasn't just a personal feud, it was a defining moment in the battle for the soul of the GOP. Within hours, the news was leaked to major outlets, with anonymous sources providing vivid accounts of the altercation. It wasn't just a disagreement, it was a full-blown verbal war, one insider told reporters. Trump was furious, and DeSantis wasn't backing down. The tension was palpable. The political world immediately began dissecting the implications. For years, Trump had been the undisputed leader of the Republican Party, but DeSantis' meteoric rise in popularity had begun to challenge his dominance. The clash highlighted the growing divide within the party between Trump's loyalists and those who saw DeSantis as the future of conservative leadership. Trump's team wasted no time framing the narrative. In a fiery statement released the following morning, Trump blasted DeSantis as ungrateful and disloyal. "I gave Ron his start," the statement read. "Without my endorsement, he would have lost his race for governor. This is how he repays me. Sad." DeSantis, however, took a more measured approach. During a press conference in Tallahassee, he avoided directly addressing the incident but emphasized his commitment to results-driven leadership. "Floridians know what we've accomplished here," DeSantis said. "I'm focused on delivering for the people, not engaging in distractions." The incident also exposed rifts within the Republican donor class. While some major contributors remained steadfast in their support for Trump, others began openly backing DeSantis. "We need a leader who can win over independents and suburban voters," one prominent donor said. "DeSantis is that leader." Social media became a battleground for supporters of both figures. Memes depicting the confrontation flooded platforms like Twitter and Instagram, with hashtags like #Trump vs. DeSantis and #GOP Civil War trending for days. Trump's fans praised his tenacity, while DeSantis backers lauded his willingness to stand up to the former president. Political commentators on cable news networks debated whether the clash marked the beginning of the end for Trump's dominance in the party. "This is a watershed moment," one analyst said. "Trump is no longer the uncontested leader of the GOP. DeSantis is proving he's a force to be reckoned with." Behind closed doors, Republican strategists scrambled to assess the fallout. Some worried that the public feud could weaken the party's chances in the 2024 elections, while others saw it as an opportunity to energize the base. "Conflict isn't always bad," one strategist said. "It gets people talking and engaged." Trump, meanwhile, took to Truth Social to continue his attacks on DeSantis. In a series of posts, he accused the Florida governor of being a puppet of the establishment and soft on key issues like immigration and trade. DeSantis, true to form, did not respond directly but doubled down on his record during public appearances. The clash also became fodder for late-night comedians, who lampooned the altercation in skits and monologues. One host joked, "It's like a reality TV show, The Real House Republicans of Orlando. Coming soon to a screen near you." As the dust began to settle, polls showed mixed reactions among Republican voters. While Trump retained strong support among his core base, DeSantis appeared to be gaining ground among younger conservatives and suburban voters. "DeSantis is fresh, focused, and results-oriented," one voter said. "Trump is starting to feel like yesterday's news." Despite the growing rivalry, some Republican leaders urged unity. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell called for the party to focus on defeating Democrats rather than fighting among themselves. "The stakes are too high for this kind of infighting," McConnell said during a press conference. However, not everyone was willing to play peacemaker. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, a staunch Trump ally, publicly criticized DeSantis for disrespecting the man who rebuilt the Republican Party. Conversely, Senator Lindsey Graham called for cooler heads, warning that the party risked alienating voters with its internal drama. The feud also had implications beyond the Republican base. Independent voters, who had been critical in swinging key elections, watched the conflict with a mix of fascination and skepticism. "It's entertaining, sure," one independent voter said. "But it's also a little unsettling. Is this what leadership looks like?" Meanwhile, Democratic strategists seized on the opportunity to highlight the GOP's divisions. In campaign ads and fundraising emails, they framed the Republican Party as chaotic and fractured. While they fight among themselves, we're focused on delivering for the American people, one Democratic ad declared. As 2024 loomed, the Trump-DeSantis rivalry became the defining storyline of the Republican primary race. Both men ramped up their campaign efforts, with Trump holding massive rallies in battleground states and DeSantis focusing on grassroots organizing. Their contrasting styles only heightened the drama. Trump's speeches grew increasingly combative, with the former president frequently referencing DeSantis without naming him. "Some people think they can take what I built and run with it," Trump said at a rally in Pennsylvania. "But they're in for a rude awakening." DeSantis, meanwhile, continued to emphasize his achievements in Florida, portraying himself as a competent and results-driven leader. "We've proven that conservative principles work," he said during a town hall event. "Now it's time to take that success nationwide." The media's fascination with the feud showed no signs of waning. Political analysts speculated about the long-term implications for the Republican Party, with some predicting a full-blown civil war and others arguing that the competition would ultimately strengthen the party. One thing was certain: the Republican road to 2024 had become a high-stakes drama, with Trump and DeSantis vying for control of the party's future. As the confrontation continued to dominate headlines, voters were left to wonder who would emerge victorious, and at what cost. The fallout from the backstage confrontation between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis continued to ripple through political circles, becoming a pivotal moment for the Republican Party. The clash wasn't just about personal egos, it symbolized a deeper divide between two competing visions for the GOP's future. Trump's allies worked overtime to cement his narrative as the true leader of the party. At a rally in Iowa, Trump addressed the rumors head-on. "They're trying to replace me, folks," he declared, his voice dripping with indignation. "But let me tell you, there's no replacing MAGA. We started a movement, and no one can take that away." DeSantis, however, carefully navigated his response. In an interview with a major conservative network, he downplayed the altercation while taking subtle jabs at Trump. "I respect what the former president has done for the party, but we can't dwell on the past," he said. "The American people want solutions, not squabbles." Pundits were quick to note the significance of DeSantis' remarks. "He's positioning himself as the future of the Republican Party," one analyst observed. "It's a calculated move. He's not attacking Trump directly, but he's clearly signaling that it's time to move on." Public opinion remained sharply divided. Loyal Trump supporters flooded social media with posts defending him, using hashtags like #StillMyPresident and #DeSantisIsFake. Meanwhile, DeSantis backers countered with slogans like #ReadyForRon and #GOPNextGen, reflecting their belief that the party needed a fresh start. The incident also sparked heated debates among conservative media outlets. While some hosts defended Trump as the party's rightful leader, others expressed frustration with his inability to embrace a more unifying approach. "At some point, we need to look forward, not backward," said one prominent commentator. Behind the scenes, the Republican National Committee, RNC, found itself caught in the middle. Party leaders struggled to maintain neutrality, knowing that openly siding with either Trump or DeSantis could alienate a significant portion of the base. "We're walking a tightrope here," one RNC insider admitted. The fundraising landscape shifted dramatically in the wake of the confrontation. Trump's campaign reported a surge in small-dollar donations, driven by his die-hard supporters. However, DeSantis saw a notable uptick in contributions from wealthy donors who viewed him as a more stable and electable alternative. As the rivalry played out in public, both camps began crafting their strategies for the 2024 Republican primaries. Trump leaned heavily on his signature rallies, using them to energize his base and attack his opponents. DeSantis, meanwhile, focused on building a robust ground game, meeting with voters in key early primary states. The feud also drew international attention, with media outlets around the world speculating about its implications for American politics. In the UK, one columnist described it as a clash of titans, while a Chinese state-run newspaper framed it as evidence of the GOP's internal chaos. Democrats seized on the opportunity to highlight Republican divisions, with President Biden referencing the feud during a speech on bipartisanship. "While some are busy fighting amongst themselves, we're focused on delivering results for the American people," Biden said to Applause. Despite the growing animosity, some Republicans sought to play peacemakers. Senator Tim Scott, widely respected within the party, called for unity during an appearance on a Sunday morning talk show. "We need to focus on defeating Democrats, not each other," Scott said. However, the peace efforts faced an uphill battle. At a private fundraiser in Florida, Trump reportedly referred to DeSantis as Ron DeSanctimonious, reigniting speculation about his willingness to launch a full-scale attack campaign against the Florida governor. DeSantis, for his part, continued to project an image of calm and competence. During a town hall in New Hampshire, he avoided direct attacks on Trump but emphasized his achievements in Florida. "We've shown what conservative leadership can achieve," he said. "Now it's time to bring that success to the national level." The rivalry also inspired a wave of cultural commentary. Late-night comedians poked fun at the situation, with one quipping, "It's like a WWE match, but with more golf carts and less athleticism." Social media users created memes depicting Trump and DeSantis as characters in a soap opera titled As the GOP Turns. Polling data painted a complicated picture. While Trump maintained strong support among older, rural voters, DeSantis appeared to be gaining traction with younger conservatives and suburban women. "It's shaping up to be a battle of the bases," one pollster remarked. The confrontation also prompted renewed discussions about Trump's influence over the party. While his loyalists argued that he remained the GOP's most powerful figure, critics pointed to recent election losses as evidence that his brand of politics was losing its appeal. Meanwhile, DeSantis' growing popularity raised questions about whether he could effectively unify the party. While his policies resonated with many conservatives, his reluctance to fully embrace Trump's rhetoric left some voters skeptical. "I like what he's done in Florida, but is he tough enough to take on the Democrats?" one voter asked. As the rivalry escalated, speculation swirled about the possibility of a primary debate between Trump and DeSantis. Political commentators predicted that such an event would be both highly entertaining and deeply consequential, potentially reshaping the Republican landscape. Despite the tension, some observers saw a silver lining. "Conflict isn't always bad," said one GOP strategist. "It forces candidates to sharpen their messages and prove themselves to voters. In the end, it could make the party stronger." For now, the Republican Party remains in a state of flux, with Trump and DeSantis locked in a high-stakes battle for its future. Whether this rivalry will lead to a stronger, more unified GOP or a fractured party unable to defeat its Democratic opponents remains to be seen. What is certain, however, is that the road to 2024 will be anything but boring. As Trump and DeSantis continue to vie for control of the Republican Party, their confrontation has set the stage for one of the most dramatic and consequential political showdowns in recent memory.